to isolate and exclude the Igbo from everything that Nigeria is doing. And you think you can build, you say, oh, Igbo, move on. Let us just move Nigeria forward, move on. Can somebody tell the Benue people now to move on from the killings they are seeing without addressing it and stopping it? Has the genocide against the Igbo stopped? Because they now, in consequence of that war, impose a constitution that has 58 items on the exclusive list that put the Igbo as a minority that cannot even raise their issue. They are all over the country, just believing in their country and building up that country. Who else is building that Nigeria with you? Apart from the Igbo that will build in Kano, build in Lagos, build in Abuja, build in Calabar, build in Port Harcourt. Who else is building that Nigeria outside their village, outside their immediate homeland?
Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Bombshell. Like, this interview is a must watch. So this is a very interesting and informative interview with Mr. Tony Nnadi, as he exposed lies about a 1966 coup that triggered the Nigeria Biafra War, which killed over 3 million of Biafrans. And also he exposed the recent lies from Gowon, who said that Nigeria Biafra War was not against Igbos, but rather against those that want to separate from Nigeria, that it was for the unity of Nigeria and also the agenda of Fulani in Nigeria. Like, he really said a lot of things. This video is a must watch. Just take a listen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nnadi, for joining me tonight on the Eastern Eye.
Thank you very much and welcome, viewers.
So, I guess the first question will be, with all the talk, with everything that's been mentioned, Nigeria's unity is fragile, but a lot of people say that that unity is non-negotiable. How do you balance these two?
Well, the same way you have wisdom and foolishness side by side every time. The federation we claim to be is a union of peoples, and it's an agreement to be in one union, in one political union, that brought us to being that Nigeria that we have now, aggregation of sovereignties that could have been, all on their own in independence. But having agreed to be a federation and a secular union, we came together, and the terms of coming together were clearly spelled out, such that if anyone abandons any of this, like abandoning the foundation upon which a contract stands. And so those who go around talking about non-negotiable, like Ibrahim Babangida used to say, that it wasn't our union in the first instance. It was the British that amalgamated, just by their own, just their business venture. They had to, lump us together to be able to take what they needed from here, implanting the Fulani to govern, to be in charge of everything around everywhere. So it has not been our union from the inception, and now. What is supposed to make it our union is the constitution we negotiate. There were negotiations prior to 1960 independence that happened in Lancaster House in 1959. So those things were clearly spelled out. If it then happened that midway into the 60s, precisely in January of 1966, things began to happen. And those arrangements, got tossed aside. So we're no longer a federation, and we're no longer a secular union by the actions of a section of the country that embraced Sharia. You could see the map behind me very clearly. You could see that there is a section of the country that embraced Sharia that is mutually exclusive with democracy and constitutionalism. And so they more or less made the union impossible. And if anybody, if in the midst of all the shout, all the demands for us to go and discuss, of course they went to Aburi in 1967, January. They came back and one side abandoned what was agreed. The one that said he had malaria, Gowon, and then resorted to violence and began to kill people for things that we now know didn't happen. You saw Babangida owning up to it, that there was no Igbo coup anywhere. And even the one of Ojukwu causing the war, it was the liar called Yakubu Gowon that chose to shift goalposts. They agreed. They had an agreement that was in writing. They signed. They read. General Ankara read over everything to them one more time, asking them, "Do you want anything changed?" Then he comes back, and then he begins to talk with diplomats and civil servants who then told him to pull back from what was agreed. Now he comes in 2025, in June of 2025, to almost at 91. Gowon will be 91 in October of 2025. Why would Gowon choose to dedicate all his life to lying, and defending the lies that are known to everybody to be lies? In fact, I have with me here, in case anybody is still in the foolishness of thinking that the records are not there. This is the record. This is an 800-page. This is an 800-page diary book from the first day in 1960. That is from the first day of the commotion, the election of 1964. December, that broke down the law and order that brought the soldiers in 1966. Eventually, every day from when things went bad from after the election to the time the war came, to the time the war ended, all the way to January 28th in 1970. That is, November 28, 1970. Every single day. It is on account of this period. This is the lost chapter of Nigeria's history. And this is not the account of anybody that came from Nigerian side or Biafran side. This is the account of day by day of the eyewitnesses. Every single thing that happened in every part, whether it's inside Nigeria or at the UN or at the African OAU of the time, all the letters that transpired, all the bombs that exploded in the marketplaces, everything that the discussion that happened in every nook and cranny. So there's no part of this volume. It has to take an application to the U.S. official historian on Biafra. The U.S. had an office set up to record what was going on in the place. I'm sure we remember Bruce Mayrock. It was the Biafran genocide that led to the outcome of the 1968 election in the U.S. that produced Richard Nixon. So it is something the whole world saw how it happened. The whole world documented. And so you go and bury your head in the sand and begin to lie about everything. So we're just saying that those lies have produced, first produced the pogroms, then produced the genocide we call the Biafra the war, and then produced the constitution that has now reduced all of us to sitting ducks waiting to be killed by the Fulani who imposed it through Murtala Mohammed in 1975. And so that's how we got to where we are.
Okay. Lies. All right. So let's take a listen to that interview you referenced of Yakubu Gowon. Let's take an excerpt of that Yakubu Gowon interview, courtesy of Arise TV. That was an interview with Charles Anagolo. Let's just listen or watch that.
Right.
The question of the millions of people that we say between, right from the beginning, if I may, made sure that it is not a war against the Igbos.
The audio isn't coming through.
As such, but it is in order to stop the breaking up of Nigeria. Right? Yes, and so what I did, what I did, I get a code of conduct. How the operations was to go, etc. And you are not fighting the people. Make sure that we protect them, all people, protect the women, and children, and and you will only take up arms against those who take up arms against you. And honestly, and with the instruction that anything that was done against the population that is not correct would be dealt with. And it is that was done. and it is not millions of people. Now, we tried to send leaflets to people to be sure that honestly it is not fight against them, but we had to stop the government behaving the union what we have. And even they should not for me to talk that, of course, when you know the names that I was called at that time.
There you have it. That's just an excerpt of that interview. Mr. Nnadi, it does appear that when you listen to retired General Gowon, he struggled to say quite a few things. We struggled to hear some of the things he's saying, but he's saying that he had the duty to keep the nation as one, that it wasn't a war to kill the Igbos. Typically that's what he was saying there. So, exactly what's your take on it?
He may have intended whatever, and there's always in the revisionist school, you can reconstruct the story as you want it to sound in the day of reckoning. But the close of discussion was that more than 3.5 million Igbos got killed because he was going to keep Nigeria one by force. Meanwhile, there was a meeting that could have settled what the problem was. Nigeria could have remained one. Even, remember, when Ojukwu passed on, Gowon's reaction to the news of Ojukwu's death was that Ojukwu believed in Nigeria more than all of them put together. That was what Gowon said when Ojukwu died in 2011. And so Ojukwu was the last to be drawn into, in fact, it was and I'm giving you the account of the eyewitnesses, people who sat with him. Eventually, Ojukwu himself sitting with me in private and asked the hard questions, because he was also asking us the hard questions about what we said we were going to do. He interrogated it, and the day Jonathan came to Nnewi to bury Ojukwu, let those who know where to find Jonathan, President Jonathan, ask him what he was told in the compound of St. Louis at the point of coming to preside over that farewell ceremony concerning Ojukwu's involvement in what. So I'm telling us what I verified eyeball to eyeball from the participants on the two sides. Enohoro, that was the leader on the other side, Enohoro that was the pointsman of the federal side in that war. Also, the last 7 years of his life, there's nobody alive in Nigeria today that can claim to have spent more time in private with either Enohoro or Ojukwu discussing what happened on the two sides of that war. The person speaking now had that extraordinary privilege, along with all the other participants that were still alive, apart from the research that took us to the archive, wherever they were on the face of the earth. And so the reality was that it was Benjamin Adekunle, one of the most brutal, in fact, the most brutal, maybe comparable only to Murtala Muhammad that committed the massacre of Asaba. Benjamin Adekunle, the one you call the Scorpion, who did the killings inside Biafra, one of Gowon's topmost, frontline commanders, said that the war was not about unity. In his memoirs, and he had been saying it from even the battlefield, where foreigners were asking him, why are you killing these people in this magnitude? The soldiers have retreated. What is it? Who are you going to govern when you win this war? And Adekunle says it is not about any unity with anybody, that it was all about oil. That was Adekunle's response to why are you killing Igbo in this number? Then the children who were, the ones who were starved to death, 2 million of them. Look around Nigeria today and see what is going on. The blood that is flowing all over Nigeria as we speak is in retribution. It is the blood of the innocents that Nigeria killed in order to keep itself one. It is that instruction of Gowon that has not succeeded in keeping Nigeria one by force. Is it not by discussion? Can two work together if they do not agree? So it is a matter of let us go and agree on what we need to do. That is still the challenge today. There's no other thing that can save Nigeria from going down, because that Nigeria that is now constructed on the foundation of falsehood. You saw the constitution and the basics claiming that we submitted our sovereignty to people we never discussed with. We, the peoples of Federal Republic of Nigeria, that is, we, the owners of the sovereignty, having solemnly and firmly resolved to live in unity forever as one indivisible and indissoluble nation. Falsehood. Do hereby make and give unto ourselves the following constitution. Falsehood. And so the entire Nigeria, the entire constitution is anchored on that falsehood. Because when you go to decree number 24 of Absalom Abaka of 1999, you will see the story of how it came about the constitution. There was no meeting between the owners of Nigeria at all. The same madness that, what's his name, what's the one in the Senate now? The same madness of going around. They have advertised another amendment to a constitution we have not made. Gospel Akpabio and his co-travelers, they said they're going to go out on the 4th and 5th of July to take zonal hearing. Gospel Akpabio, which constitution do you want to amend? All of those, they are going to take money from the treasury now. They may be 5, 10 billion, 20 billion, whatever. They will share it among themselves to say they are amending constitution. Which constitution are you amending? When we say we have not made any constitution. And those who do not understand that complaint, that it is a lie that we, the people, solemnly resolve to live in unity forever, and therefore make the constitution for ourselves. Those who do not understand the gravity of that complaint, by the owners of the lands that are aggregated into the Union of Nigeria against their will, if Joe is crying, you took their oil and gas. The Benue is bleeding, Plateau is bleeding, you are killing them off to take their land because you are now in monopoly control of guns, because you wrote it into the constitution that no one of the indigenous nationalities can organize their own security. I'm just telling you that the 36 states we have today are products of that brigandage of Gowon and his confederates. The 7 and 7 local government areas, they smuggled into that constitution, not discussed with anybody. The 68 items of exclusive list that makes it impossible for, in fact, all factors of production are confiscated by this constitution. And so when characters like Peter Obi come out, talking about taking people from consumption to production, we asked him, and all of those who are planning to go to election in 2027, under this constitution, 7 cycles of election, people are dying all over the place. A bunch of madmen gather in Abuja, swearing to defend and uphold the enslavement of others. And the more we try to call them to it, we went out of our way, got the owners of Nigeria together to decide how they were going to live together as one union. And we presented that outcome of 20 years of work that involved all the nationalities. Name who you know that should have been in that process that was not in that process, including the ones killing people. Buhari and his kinsmen. Buhari was personally one of the Fulani delegates to that Pronaco. The one that is Sayed Abaka and Sokoto now, the one that says Sultan, was also in that Fulani delegation. There's nothing you hear now that are not being discussed with the leaders of the people, not the political merchants. I mean, the Yoruba as they would love to be led, the Igbo as they would love to be led, the Ijaw, the Ogoni, the Thief, the Beron, throughout the country, including the Fulani. We got them to come to sit down for 2 whole years. Obasanjo, who ought to have been, midwifing all of that, went to national TV to say it will amount to treason if we call such a meeting. I'm just informing you that at the end of the day, what Gowon triggered became the basis for killing the Igbo, from the July of 1966. It was those killings, which they call pogroms, numbering hundreds of thousands, people who didn't know anything, just like the people of Yerwata did not have any quarrel with anybody, and they've been slaughtered. We've been hearing about it in Plateau, in Adamawa, in southern Borno, in southern Canada. All these things you hear today happened for 3 whole years inside Biafra. More than 3 million people, by Gowon's account, he said 5 million. I'm sure you listened to Paul Unongo the other time, who talked about how they participated in keeping Nigeria one, that they had to kill 3 million Igbos. A thief man that was a participant saying that that was what they had to do. You had to thief the other day, sorry for what's going on now, but he said that of all the services they render to Nigeria to keep it one, is this how they will be rewarded?
You know what? Now
so
that
if we don't dress back,
yes,
and press up to confront the truth,
yes, now
Nigeria will lead to death, and that Nigeria that is defined by this constitution.
Yes, now that you've mentioned,
those are struggling to keep it one.
Yes,
that there are some of us who do whatever it will take to collapse that construction.
Okay.
Particularly those who go to swear to defend and uphold.
Yes, now that you've mentioned Totif, we have a clip of where he made a speech during the president's visit to Benue recently. Let's listen to James Ayase, the Totif, talking about what happened in Yelwata. Let's take a listen.
The second thing, Your Excellency, I must quickly talk about is some apprehension. We do have grave concern about the misinformation and misrepresentation of the security crisis in Benue State. Your Excellency, it is not herder farmers clashes, it's not communal clashes, it's not repressor attacks or skirmishes. It is this misinformation that has led to suggestions such as remain tolerant, negotiate for peace, learn to live with your neighbors. What we are dealing with here in Benue is a calculated, well-planned, full-scale genocidal invasion and land-grabbing campaign by herder terrorists and bandits, which has been on for decades and is worsening every year. Wrong diagnosis will always lead to wrong treatment. So we are dealing with something far more sinister than we think about. It's not learning to live with your neighbors, it is dealing with a war. The second apprehension, Your Excellency, we have is the politicization of the crisis.
Ayase there, the Totif, making that point. And I'm sure you can hear me, Mr. Nnadi. He made the point. He said it's about land. It's about control. So, I mean, what's your take on this? Because he didn't mince words. He looked the president in the face and said it. I mean, they are coming to take our lands. This is not about farmer-herder clash. Someone or some people just wants our land, and they are trying to take it by force because they have superior firepower. Straight up, that's how he said it.
Well, that's what it has always been. Just that we have gotten used to lying to ourselves and pretending about everything. In 2019, the US government spent 7 months listening to what we came to share with them about the Fulani conquest agenda that was being executed by way of ethnic cleansing, but wearing the garment of religion for disguise, and being led by Muhammadu Buhari, who had found it, forced his way to power by brigandage, by violence. And we saw when Rufai and Baraje and all kinds of people were confirming to us that they had to go to get the Fulani from outside Nigeria, from 16 different countries. I want us to listen carefully. We are in a war in which the Fulani from all around the Sahel are coming to Nigeria to enforce the retrieval. They say the land belongs to them because Ahmadu Bello told them so. Uthman Danfodio came on the same mission. Uthman Danfodio came on a conquest mission wearing the garment of religion. His end came in the hands of the thief. That mission was continued by Ahmadu Bello. It was what Ahmadu Bello was doing in continuation of the attempt of the Fulani to take over Nigeria that led to what happened on January 15th, more than anything else. Awolowo won the election. Ahmadu Bello, working with the British that didn't want Awolowo, ganged up and put Awolowo in prison. And going from there, the Yoruba resisted it in Western region. They deployed, a military force to quell that Yoruba resistance, having suspended the constitution of Western region since the 29th of May in 1962. Then you come back to the Tiv area, the same thing. Joseph Tucker and all of his compatriots in that flank who wanted to be separated from the northern region of Ahmadu Bello, were putting up their own resistance. What did Ahmadu Bello do? He sent soldiers to go to wipe them off. And then Major Onwa Twebo, because the officers at the time were mostly Igbo, just by sheer, numbers that were, commissioned by the British into the officers' ranks. In Ibadan, it was Imam Obosi Igbo and his mates leading. In Tivland, it was Onwa Twebo and his mates leading. They began to talk among themselves. Where is this Ahmadu Bello going with this type of, onslaught against everybody? Then they began to disobey some of the orders. Timothy Onwa Twebo, for refusing to execute, to kill thief people as he was commanded to do, was court-martialed. And he would have been killed, if not that his mates then decided to move against the Ahmadu Bello to rescue Awolowo. We had it from, but thank goodness that some of the people are now confessing their roles and speaking some of the truths. Did Babangida not write it in his book to say that it wasn't any Igbo plan to take over Nigeria? It was just to rescue Awolowo and put him back in the power that he won. That was what the soldiers came to do on January the 15th. So we're just talking about the Fulani conquest agenda that is ongoing even now. The entire country is on fire. They are killing in Adamawa. They are killing in Taraba. They are killing in Benue. They are killing in Borno. They are killing everywhere. Go to Enugu now. There's apprehension. Let those who are sitting around in Enugu and clapping for a CCTV camera find out what is going on in Hamufu. Find out what's going on in Enugu Ezike. Find out what's going on close to Nsukka. Let it be known to all of those sitting in Igbo land and talking about the election that will happen under this constitution in 2027. That Enugu may be the next stop. For those things they are hearing, they think somebody was talking, he said, no, it's less than 20 minutes from where you are sitting in that Enugu state. That thing you are seeing in Benue, that thing you saw in Yewata can begin to happen, across, and when it gets into Enugu, it will be in Abia the next moment, it will be in Port Harcourt in a matter of days or weeks. That's how close we are to disaster. And how did we come about it? Yakubu Gowon and his confederates. That process became genocide. That genocide ended in 1970, and the next thing they would do, the people didn't want to. There's a map, the map of Dotty Circle that you showed before. If you could pull it up again, so that we can tell those, including Yakubu Gowon, because I'm very sure he's listening to this, session live. I sent it to people who will get to view it live. The Igbo, on which day were the 12 states created? What happened in that war was that the Igbo was isolated by an alliance of the rest of Nigeria to be killed and cut off from any kind of help. There was air, land, and sea blockade. It was enforced, during which the process, more than 2 million Biafran children died of starvation that was targeted at them, quite apart from the soldiers and other people that died from all kinds of other reasons. And so the southeast that you know today, eastern region was broken into 3 by Gowon the very day that the decision was taken to pull back from the Nigeria that was killing them. the government of Eastern region, having consulted widely with the peoples of the Eastern region, decided that since Nigeria doesn't want them and is killing them actively, let them draw the line to save those who have not been killed yet. The day that decision was taken in Enugu, Gowon turned up the next morning to announce the fracturing of Eastern region into southeastern states, that is the present Cross River and Akwa Ibom, to block Eastern region from Cameroon international borders. And then the River State to block Eastern region from the Atlantic waterfront. If you raise that map a little so that people can see more, what we have now, the 6 geopolitical zones that people are saying, let us move to 6 geopolitical zone and let it become a basis of, you cannot build on this foundation of wickedness and not harvest blood and death and poverty and everything that has happened to Nigeria. Look at this map again. There are 6 geopolitical zones. According to them, the only one is that dot in circle, the only one that doesn't have international border or access to the sea. Look at the other 5. The one of yellow on the other side, you could see border with Niger and Benin Republic and all kinds of even, now on the eastern side, northeast, you see border with Cameroon here and Niger and Chad. On the other side, you see the south-south, border with Cameroon, border with Atlantic Ocean. You see the southwest, border with Benin Republic, border with Atlantic Ocean. How did we come to this geopolitical zone arrangement that has everything wrong just to continue that same decision to isolate and exclude the Igbo from everything that Nigeria is doing? And you think you can build, you say, oh, Igbo, move on. Let us just move Nigeria forward, move on. Can somebody tell the Benue people now to move on from the killings they are seeing without addressing it and stopping it? Has the genocide against the Igbo stopped? Because they now, in consequence of that war, impose a constitution that has 68 items on the exclusive list that put the Igbo as a minority that cannot even raise their issue. They are all over the country, just believing in their country and building up that country. Who else is building that Nigeria with you? Apart from the Igbo that will build in Kano, build in Lagos, build in Abuja, build in Calabar, build in Port Harcourt. Who else is building that Nigeria outside their village, outside their immediate homeland? And then you think that by decree, you can structure it the way it will work for you. You are selling 3 million barrels of crude oil every day, and there's no part of it that is meant for the owners or anybody that may benefit from it in the name of, by an arrangement that takes care of the citizen. Then the political merchants join these invaders and imposters to drag us to election after election, pretending we have a democracy, whereas people are being slaughtered. Their future have been sold. And we say to them, as it stands, we have a choice to make. If anybody is stupid enough to imagine that Nigeria that is built to exclude, to feed on my blood, is going to be left standing the way it is standing, such a person must be a compound fool, an idiot. And the ones that we can identify and who we have to tell before the world, even now, the ones still planning to go to election in 2027 in the face of the existential threats that are now confronting us. 4 existential threats. The first is the Fulani that is coming upon everybody from everywhere. They are not waiting for 2027 to go to the next community. From after Yewata, you saw what they've done in Plateau. You saw what they've done in several, about 5 states have been, under fire from the same people. And you hear them boasting of what more they will do. The other day, I saw somebody sent me a video of the one that was threatening the very dark man that went to the location to now expose what the media in Nigeria will not touch. The media in Nigeria, Arise TV, Ruben Abati that knows so much. We are dancing around this matter and pretending we have a Nigeria that is growing because Bola Tinubu is sitting in Abuja and appointing all his kinsmen to be in charge of everything. The constitution that sets the house upside down is still in place. The Yoruba may be rejoicing now that their kinsman is president. I'm sorry for them because Eventually, that day will come when he will not be president. Then they will turn around and begin to cry. There were other people before them who thought just by being there. The problem we have can only be solved if we go to the truth. And what is that truth? We have not agreed to be in this union in the manner it has turned into a unitary state.
Yes, we have to take a break at this point. When we come back, Mr. Nnadi, you will tell us exactly what needs to be done for that for that union to be revisited, and so that the ethnic nationalities can have a say on what the constitution should be and look like.
It is the exclusive. Yes, they are the only ones to make what will become constitution.
Let's find out exactly what should be on the table of the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, because from everything you've said, that they are the ones who should decide what should happen to the constitution. In fact, you are saying that they should decide what the constitution should be.
Yes, constitution is simply what it says, to constitute. It is the arrangement by which the owners of the sovereignty, constituent components of Nigeria, the Yoruba that could have been Yoruba country of 60 million people, the Ijaw that could have been a country of their own, the Tiv that could be a country of their own, bigger than half of the countries of the world. The arrangement by which they become one political union is what the constitution is supposed to be settling. And if you doubt me, let's go to section 14.2a of the 1999 constitution that says that sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through this constitution, derives all its powers and authority. That is by their own admission, meaning that it is the day the Yoruba who own Yoruba land, they discuss with the Ijaw who own Ijaw land, the Tiv who own Tiv land, that they will be in one political union. Those two questions that Bola Ige was raising at the time we're talking about sovereign conference. Do we want to be in one political union? And if the answer is yes, on what terms? Those are the two questions that the owners of the territories that were aggregated into Nigeria from 1914 will have to answer. That it is when they have answered that question, they will now codify it into what becomes constitution. There's no other way to come about any document that will become constitution. The decree number 24 of Absalom Abaka in 1999, even if, no matter how many people they have to kill, because the Nigeria of unitarism requires violence. It's a monster that feeds on blood. That the Nigeria you have now requires no less than, it feeds on the blood of no less than 5,000 people every day. And the organization I speak for, the NINAS, is an aggregation of all of those who have come to the realization that there's something we need to do to finish the task of forming ourselves into a political union. Right now, Nigeria is a disputed project. And having worked with a plan that took 20 years to drive from the research and the consultations that began right in 1999 when this constitution was reintroduced. It was first imposed in 1979 at the instruction of the Murtala Mohammed that commissioned the draft in 1975, coming from the war that they thought they have won, and then confiscating all the economic assets of everybody and all the powers to do anything for ourselves. I can't do electricity for myself, I can't do road for myself, I can't do any infrastructure for myself. And then lumping it all together to be managed from one corner in Abuja, including election. I can't even elect who will govern me, because there's an INEC that I have to sit in Abuja to tell me that it must be Hope Uzodinma instead of Ihedioha. That can sit in Abuja and tell me that the man who did not win anywhere has emerged as president. And then there's a Supreme Court that will agree with him. So the owners of the sovereignty that have now been, aggregated into what you call Nigeria, the entire territories you see on this map, are the ones who have the exclusive right to decide whether they want to be in union, and if yes, on what terms. Those terms will then include the formations. Do they want to be 4 regions or 3 regions or 12 states or 90 states? It is their decision to make. Therefore, Ijaw and Ogoni and Anang and Efik could be discussing at their own level. Yoruba could discuss with whoever, just the owners of the lands alone. And so it is when they've done that, they'll have their charters. They'll go to the second stage of federating. It is in that second stage that they begin to discuss what they are going to give up and what they are going to keep. It is their sovereignty. It is therefore them to decide the items that will be, more or less seconded or ceded to a central government that is their own, dictation. The federal government is their union office. That's all it is. And then it is after they've done all of that, they will now codify what they've done. For the dumbheads that are parading themselves as senators and house members in Abuja, I don't know who taught them the kind of law in which the National Assembly is now the one making constitution, and the ones that say, oh, let's go back to 1963. It is a process in which you identify the owners of the sovereignty, you allow them to discuss among themselves and agree on those two things to be in union and the terms of the union. Everything you have to write into the constitution. That we're going to be 30 states or 10 states, that we're going to have 10 items or 20 on exclusive list, every single thing, that there will be presidential system, that there will be National Assembly of 2 chambers or 1. Every single thing written into the constitution can only be agreed upon by the owners of the sovereignty, not the government that emerges after they finish their discussion. The government that emerges is like you have formed your company and you now hire a management. That hiring process is called election. But when you hear the 3 legs definition of democracy as government of the people, by the people, for the people, it means that there's a foundation. Government of the people means that the people dictate the ground norm, the constitution. That's why they spell out everything and give all the powers and all the, demarcate everything that will go in where they will go. Then by the people means only by their vote do they mandate those who come and operate that constitution that they've made. For the people means that those who wield power will do so to the benefit of the people. If you did not write what the constitution contains, your vote will not be required at the election. We have seen it repeatedly 7 times since 1999. And therefore, those in government house will only be doing what they are doing right now, sharing trillions of naira every month, whereas the people who own the money are dying in poverty. And so, Nina's placed a plan on the table since the 16th of December in 2020, having done all the work of getting everybody to agree to the kind of thing they want to see. Only now for it to be, the only thing remaining now is for us to stop the stupid journey of going to election mandated by this constitution, to sit down and sort out what they agree on can become constitution that will keep the union and define the terms of the union. If we don't take advantage of that, of that proposition, the 5-point proposition contained in the Nina's constitutional force majeure, which had been taken everywhere it needs to be taken to, including the international circuit, to say, let us accept we have not made any constitution. We have not agreed that our problems are flowing from this unitary constitution. Let us accept that the solution to our problem is to do away with this unitary constitution. Let us accept that we cannot postpone it further. We have been waiting in this same bus stop since January of 1967. We've been waiting to solve that one problem, and Nigeria has been falling deeper and deeper into damnation. Therefore, Nina said, let us suspend further national elections mandated by this constitution that dispense death, that dispense poverty, that dispense failure and backwardness. Nigeria is dragging the black man into the pit. It is because of this constitution that Nigeria is failing the whole world. It's because of this constitution that Nigeria is where it is, and therefore the black man is where he is. And so, let us then go to the item 4, in which, for the first time, the owners of the sovereignty will be the ones discussing in 2 stages. Like I've already explained, that is the item 4 of our proposition. In 1914, they were not called. The British just did what they wanted to do. In 1999, they were not called. There's no difference between the amalgamation of 1914 and the amalgamation of 1999. So we say, let them be identified, let them discuss, let them agree, and then they codify the agreement to become constitution. Item 5 is a time-bound announcement. A time-bound announcement to tell the whole world that Nigeria needs to rectify a few things in-house and therefore will not be going to election in 2027, but to go immediately into a transition to rework what could become a constitution for Nigeria. We've not made any. And so, like South Africa did in 1980, to ease itself out of the apartheid bind. That's where we are now. And if we had all the time to say we do it however we choose to do it, whenever, the Fulani is coming upon everybody to take the land that the Constitution, I'm sure most of us saw the old man Pajori that went to NHS Church, the Dunamis in Abuja, to announce to us that under this Constitution is titled deed in the hands of the Fulani. Every single thing the Fulani had done to everybody, including the killings, everything that we have complained about, corruption, everything we have complained about, impunity, about infrastructural decay, young people that want to take back your country, it is this constitution that took your country from you and handed over to the politicians that have sold your future and sharing your blood every month. Say, let us accept those 5 things. Ninas is now challenging the victims of this bad arrangement, whether they're in Sokoto or they're in Port Harcourt, whether they're in Benue or they're in Plateau. Ninas is challenging the peoples of Nigeria to dress back from going to further elections under this constitution, to insist on an immediate transition, for them to go and discuss, because the processes have been spelled out. It won't take more than 6 months, 1 year to do. But if we insist on going to election, the outcome will be that those who have cornered all the powers of state, who are now a one-party state, are going to declare themselves, and then they'll carry on with what they are doing. If you go to election in 2027 under this constitution, when we can insist on transition to solve this problem before that 2027, you are saying that Fulani can carry on with what they are doing. You are saying that the state capture that Tinubu has orchestrated can go on, to whatever. They've suspended the rule of law long ago.
All right.
You are saying that the economic strangulation that is deliberately targeted at keeping you impotent.
All right.
You
Well, I mean,
we're suffering. They know. They don't want you to be able to challenge them. That's why the economy has been strangled down.
We're totally out of time now, Mr. Nnadi, and I have to thank you so much for all the points you've made.
So, my people, that is it. Mr. Tony Nnadi has said it all. The truth is that we all know that Nigeria is not working. And if we keep pretending, what is happening in Nigeria today will definitely get worse. It is high time to call for constitutional reform, electoral reform, if truly they want to go for 2027 election. Because what happened in 2023 election will repeat itself. Is even going to get worse now that Tinubu is on a president. And also, it is high time to call for a roundtable in order to discuss the way forward of Nigeria, if truly people still want to belong in so-called one Nigeria. According to Gowon, he said that he buy over 3 million of Biafra just to keep Nigeria together, for the unity of Nigeria, which is all lies, because there's nothing like unity in Nigeria right now. Everywhere and scatter. Anyway, my people, I hope you guys heard everything he said here, which I believe that he has set the minds of many Nigerians as well as Biafrans, right? So that is it. I would love you guys to share the video so that other people will get the opportunity to watch, as well as like it, so that YouTube will recommend it for other people to watch. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I will see you guys in my next update. Goodbye for now.
Welcome to Shamra Seniors TV.